children and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her, when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Davos is in Switzerland, so in Europe. And when we speak of the kings of the earth, we are right in Europe. Let's read what ChatGPT says. In Europe, there are currently 12 sovereign monarchies, that is, 12 states in which the head of state is a monarch. These 12 monarchies in Europe are Belgium, Denmark, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Monaco, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, Spain, United Kingdom, Andorra, and Vatican City. Some lists count only 10 monarchic states if Andorra and the Vatican are not considered classic monarchies. Okay, 10 or 12. So the place already fits perfectly. Denmark itself, to which Greenland belongs, is of course also a monarchy. Can we find in the press that at least some of these kings have lamented? Here is a whole list, starting with Belgium, Denmark, Sweden, the mighty kingdom of Great Britain, to which the Commonwealth belongs, Spain, and Norway. All complained and grumbled about Trump. Norway was particularly in the press because Trump wrote like a little offended child. In a text message published on Monday, he told the Norwegian Prime Minister that he no longer felt an obligation to think purely of peace. Norway had denied him the Nobel Peace Prize, and now he apparently no longer needs to pay so much attention to peace. Well, anyone who has followed the events around Greenland knows that the kings in Europe and other presidents have lamented, as the text says. And when did the surprising deal come? At the end of the first hour of Babylon's fall, as the text also says. Was there coincidentally a fire, a blaze that caused smoke? Believe it or not, exactly when Trump and Rutte made the deal in Davos, the Victoria Hotel in Davos caught fire on January 21. And another fire alarm was triggered in the Congress Center. You can read this short article yourself here. Time and place fit perfectly to fulfill the text. But this apparently insignificant fire or incident in Davos stands for a fire that can no longer be extinguished and is much bigger. Have you read in the news what is happening in Europe because of this Greenland controversy or USA-EU controversy? Merz pulls the emergency brake. Invitation for new alliance with 6 countries already sent. That is the title of this video from the channel Vermietertagebuch. This YouTuber writes about the video. Last night, our federal government dropped the bomb and effectively buried the European Union. Completely quietly. No press conference, no headlines. The federal government sent an internal letter with a clear message. The EU is no longer viable. This letter went to 6 other countries, and a new alliance was proposed. Fewer states, more power. If this plan succeeds, then the EU is history, and it will trigger a massive chain reaction. The last weeks and months have shown the kings and presidents of the EU that they are in a deadlocked situation with the USA, and they want to try other ways. But that breaks up the previously organized EU. In this Reuters article, it says, Germany pushes for two-speed Europe with new bloc of 6 leading economies. Due to the decision-making inertia of the 27 member states, Germany, France, Poland, Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands want to decouple. Further down in the article, to survive in an increasingly unpredictable geopolitical situation, Europe must become stronger and more resilient, Klingbeil wrote in the letter to his counterparts dated Monday, adding that continuing as before could not be an option. And here, of course, he refers to the experiences with Trump and the USA. Read it yourself and form your own opinion. The Europe of the kings is falling apart in one way or another. That's how it looks. And that reminds us of the statue in Daniel 2, where a certain stone strikes the feet with the 10 toes. And that points to Europe. And you know what happens then? We've just looked at what took place during and at the end of the first hour of Babylon's fall. Is there a theme that dominates the current second hour? If we find that, then we also know what the lament will look like around or shortly after February 16. It is helpful if we first read the biblical text. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and much, much, much more are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city, that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. So it is about the merchants or traders. And from the long list of traded goods with which money is made, the first two are probably very interesting: gold and silver. Have you seen what happened in the markets on Friday, January 30, 2026? Gold and silver prices collapsed after a historically strong rally. Also, historically fast and deep. Here are some news reports with links. Please read them yourself. The gold price fell by about 18%, and the silver price by about 38%. Those are numbers you simply don't see with gold and silver. And this is just the beginning, because the second hour of Babylon's fall, where the merchants and traders lament, is not yet over. I don't believe that after this presentation of the facts, there's any doubt left about where we stand in the prophetic timeline. I would like to point out one thing that has particularly struck me personally in recent days when observing social media, especially X. One of the traded goods is slaves and souls of men. Read it again in the Bible text on the previous slide. And I notice that recently there has been an unprecedented disclosure of names, emails, and photos from the Epstein files. Things about well-known people are coming to light that make you sick to your stomach. Slaves and souls of men points to human trafficking. And there is probably no sadder disclosure right now than the contents of the Epstein files. Minors were trafficked and souls were sold. That is, human sacrifices were made, as if they were worth nothing. And yet, many of them became rich, as the text says. Honestly, I don't want to waste any more words on it, because it's such a filthy evil. God remembers Babylon in this respect also. And justice is coming, 100%. What else is left for me to say at the end of the first part of the video series, The Bridegroom Cometh? You know the day, that is the 70th Jubilee year, and when it ends. And you know the hour, that is the moon before the end of the Jubilee year. You know in which hour of Babylon's fall we are. We have reminded you once again of Three-Eye Atlas and what it really is. You've seen the seal, the mark on Capricornus, and know what awaits people who do not look up and thus do not expect the second coming, or only in years, or perhaps think that 1,000 golden years are coming on this corrupt earth. It should have become clear what the mark of the beast is, and not what many believe it to be. No, it's not a barcode or a chip in the hand. Look again at the harness on the horse. Since June 25, 2025, we know that Jesus comes because the Bible proclaimed it in harmony with heaven through Three-Eye Atlas. Behold, the bridegroom comes. Wake up, light your lamps, and go out to meet him. Three-Eye Atlas was discovered directly above the cross at the galactic equator, and the cross points not only to the morning judgments, not only to the crucifixion itself at 9 o'clock, but especially to the dark 3 hours from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. For the unrepentant world, the appearance of Three-Eye Atlas has indeed indicated the dark time. Not 12 o'clock noon, but 12 o'clock midnight. May your lamps now burn. Go out and proclaim the good news wherever you can. The bridegroom cometh. And in part 2, we will show the entire final timeline of the two witnesses from Revelation 11. And once it is deciphered and recognized, it will be possible to proclaim the midnight cry with pinpoint accuracy. And we will do that. You will see how the 4 points of the two witnesses on the Mazzaroth receive the Spirit of life, how they stand on their feet, how they hear the call to ascend one after another, what their final task is, and when and how they ultimately ascend. That will probably be the climax of their work. It is heading toward the second coming at full speed. Please stay tuned and hold on now. Amen.